If you ever wanted to live the gladiator life from your childhood bedroom, Swords and Sandals is what you played. Fight in arenas, buy weapons, level up your stats, and try not to die horribly. It's simple, brutal, satisfying, and for many, unforgettable. Today we'll go through where the Swords and Sandals series came from, how the gameplay works, how it evolved, what people thought then and now, and whether it still holds up in 2025 or whenever you watch this video. Gladiator. The Swords and Sandals franchise began in 2005, created by Whiskey Barrel Studios, a small Australian indie team led by Oliver Joyce. The first game of Swords and Sandals, Gladiator, started as a simple flash browser game, the kind of thing you stumble across on sites like Miniclip or Newgrounds, back when those were the go-to destinations for quick online games. At its core, the concept was straightforward but addictive. You played as a shipwrecked pirate forced into a gladiator combat on a fictional Doom Trek island. From there, you'd build your gladiator by leveling up stats, buying weapons and armor, and fighting increasingly tough opponents until you rose to become champion of the arena. The mix of turn-based combat and RPG-style progression was unusual for a flash game. Most browser titles at the time were puzzle games or arcade shooters. But Swords and Sandals gave players something closer to a bite-sized RPG that you could play in a school computer lab or during a lunch break. That's part of why it exploded in popularity. Another big factor was the game's demo model. The free browser version let you play up to a certain point, but to unlock the full game you had to buy it. For a lot of kids back then, this meant countless hours replaying the demo, trying new gladiators, and laughing at the over-the-top combat animations. It turned the series into a sort of online anomaly, a game everyone knew even if most only ever played the free version. And with the success of the first game, it kicked off a whole franchise. Over the next few years, Whiskey Barrel released sequels and spin-offs. Swords and Sandals 2, Emperor's Reign, released in 2007, expanded the combat, more customization, and it is often remembered as the fan favorite. Swords and Sandals 3, Solo Ultratus, 2008, continued the RPG arena formula, introducing new classes and mechanics. Swords and Sandals Crusader, also released in 2008, a spin-off that focused less on arena combat and more on a tactical army-based battles. Swords and Sandals 4, Tavern Quest, released in 2009, an RPG board game style spin-off generally seen as the weaker or one of the weaker entries in the franchise. And the later entries experimented with medieval settings, larger RPG systems, and eventually multiplayer in Swords and Sandals Immortals, released in 2022. By the mid-2010s, Flash was dying out, but the franchise adapted. The games were released on PC via the Steam, bundled together in a classic collection, allowing players to revisit their childhood games without a browser. This move cemented Swords and Sandals as more than just another Flash relic. It became a long-running indie franchise with real staying power and updated in recent years. Gladiator. What made Swords and Sandals charming is how accessible the core loop is. You begin by creating your gladiator, customizing appearance, choosing stats and skills, then you enter arenas, fight opponents in turn-based combat, attacks, stones, power attacks, special moves, and sometimes magics or potions. Between the fights, you spend gold earned to buy or upgrade weapons, armors, and other gear. You can also unlock new armor or magic spells based on skill or level of your character. There are side modes or minigames in many versions, such as small challenges and mini-battles, which break up the arena fights and give a bit of variation. One thing that sticks with players is the feeling that every decision counts. Do you invest in power, attack or stamina? Do you save gold for a strong weapon or buy a cheaper upgrade now? All this while knowing one bad fight can wipe your progress. especially in early versions without save unless full version was bought. So let's explore those features further. Character creation and stats. Every adventure began with creating your gladiator. You could customize their look, body size, armor, colors, even silly faces, and then distribute points across the core attributes like strength, stamina, agility, and charisma. Each stat mattered. Strength boosted melee power, agility improved accuracy and dodging, stamina let you swing heavier weapons and last longer in fights, and charisma influenced crowd reactions, because nothing beats knocking a guy out and then taunting the audience for extra gold. This gave players freedom to build their fighters or gladiators however they liked, a hulking brute, a nimble archer, or a showman gladiator who lived off applause. Then we have arena combat. The core loop was always the same. Enter the arena, face an opponent and try to not get killed. Combat was turn-based but faster paced than most RPGs at the time, and each turn you had several options: basic attacks, heavy attacks, defensive actions, and special moves and taunts. The brilliance of this game loop was in the risk versus reward. Do you go for a risky power attack that might end the fight in one blow, or play it safe with a quick jabs? And if your stamina ran low, you became a sitting duck and needed to take turns sleeping, so managing endurance was just as important as landing hits. Then we have progression and gear. Winning fights earned you gold, which you spent on the shops, on weapons, armor upgrades for every body part, and potions, spells, or ranged gear depending on the entry of the game. And every new piece of gear wasn't just stronger, it looked flashier, so your gladiator visibly evolved as you progressed. Part of the fun was seeing your scrappy half-naked fighter slowly transform into a fully armored champion dripping with steel and gold, or sometimes even a samurai gear. Then we have permadeath and save limitations that we mentioned earlier. One notorious quirk of the early game was permadeath. If your gladiator died, that was it, the game over, and the free flash versions you couldn't save progress unless you bought the full game. This meant countless players restarted over and over trying new stat builds or strategies. It was frustrating, but it also made every victory feel earned. Oh, and the difference across the series. Different entries added layers to the formula. Swords and Sandals 2 gave more customization, magic spells, and larger campaign. Swords and Sandals 3 introduced new classes and more diverse opponents. And spin-offs like Crusader shifted into army-based battles, while for example Tavern Quest experimented with a board-style game. And honestly, hate me for it, but I liked it. And the game Immortals in 2022 brought into modern times with online multiplayer, classes, and advanced combat like limb damage. But despite all of those differences that we mentioned, the loop remained: fight, upgrade, survive, repeat. So the question is, why it hooked players? The magic of Swords and Sandals was how easy it was to pick it up, but how hard it was to stop playing. Matches were short, making it perfect for just one more fight sessions. And the humor too, from goofy taunts to absurd weapons, keep things light, while the progression system gave every battle stakes, making you rethink your strategy each time. It was simple, yes, but in the mid-2000s, when most free browser games were match 3 puzzles or flash shooters, this was something different, a mini RPG you could sink hours into on your browser.
Gladiator.
Unlike sprawling RPGs with elaborate storylines, Swords and Sandals keeps things simple. The plot is more of a framework, but it's enough to keep you hooked. In the first game, you play as a shipwrecked pirate stranded on Doomtrek Island, forced into the life of Gladiator. From there, your journey is straightforward. Fight your way up to the ranks of the arena, earn fame and fortune, and eventually challenge the reigning champion. It's the classic underdog story, a nobody rising to a glory one fight at a time. Each arena battle feels like its own mini chapter. Every victory brings you closer to freedom. Every defeat threatens to end your story on the sands of the Colosseum. It's not a grand narrative filled with twists and turns, but the tension comes from immediacy of each fight. Survival today means living to fight tomorrow. Later entries added more flavor. For example, Swords and Sandals 2, Emperor's Reign, expanded on the arena system, putting you straight against stronger bosses and adding the overreaching goal of dethroning the Emperor himself. Swords and Sandals 3, Solo Ultratus built on that with new classes and rivalries, while spin-offs like Crusader and Tavern Quest tried to branch into entirely new story styles, though not always successfully. But at its core, the plot of the series was always about the same thing: the rise of your gladiator. From starving Castaway in a tattered rags to a fully armored arena legend, your story was defined not by cutscenes or dialogue trees, but the scars you earned in the battle.
Gladiator.
Back in the mid-2000s, Swords and Sandals spread like wildfire in schools and on flash game sites. Players loved its simplicity, humor, and RPG mechanics, but critics pointed out the flaws: limited graphics, repetitive combat, and the infamous demo paywall. Still, those flaws became part of the legend. Ask anyone who grew up on it, and they'll tell you stories about replaying the demo 100 times or building a glass cannon gladiator who lost it in 2 hits but looked hilarious doing it. Especially if you spec into agility and jump over the arena like a crazy frog. When the games were released in the Classic Collection on Steam, reviews were largely positive. Fans of the franchise enjoyed revisiting their childhood game, and new players got to see what all the fuss was about. The newer entries like Immortals got praise for its ambition and online play, though some players still prefer the simplicity of the originals. Today, Swords and Sandals isn't just remembered as that Gladiator Flash game, it's became one of the few browser-born series to survive the death of Flash and reinvent itself for modern times.
Gladiator.
Swords and Sandals may never have been the deepest RPG or the most polished strategy game, but it didn't need to be. It was fun, it was unique, and it captured a whole generation of players who just wanted to see their gladiator rise from rags to riches. Whether you're revisiting the Classic Collection for a dose of nostalgia or trying Immortals to face real players online, the series still delivers that gladiator thrill nearly 20 years later. And at the end of the day, maybe that's what made Swords and Sandals special. It didn't take itself too seriously. It let you swing a sword, taunt the crowd, and hope you didn't die in your underwear. With that said, time to end the video. Thank you guys for watching and see you in the next video.